Hello everybody, good evening, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as Zirkzee's career at Manchester United is almost done. Does that lead to Osimhen to Manchester United? We'll be talking about that. Also, what's the latest with Man United's trip to Liverpool? Is it snowing? And I tell you what, it's not snowing. It's Graeme Souness going after another Manchester United player. Remember, he went after Pogba for years. He's going after another Man United player, but you might agree with him on this one. We've got the latest Manchester United news and it's a Saturday night show, so get your comments in as always. Martin Borseth and Smoke, welcome very much. Welcome very much. Welcome to the United Stand Members Club. Get your badge in. And we've got a special guest on the show tonight as well. If you're on That's Football, you might know who it is. Why have you got a blue light in the background? Because I'm an idiot. It should be red. Thank you very much for reminding me about that. Okay, so let's start off with this. More stories again today. You might have seen them at lunchtime. I'll read out where it came from because the situation is looking a little bit like this. So Joshua Zirkzee has said, yeah, this is on MUFC MPB, which is an aggregator. I think he's actually deleted it now anyway. But there was a story about Joshua Zirkzee saying yes to a move back to Italy, and it might have been deleted. It might not have been a great source, but this was coming out again earlier on. There's also some news coming out about the weather, which I will give you as well. This is coming in from another journalist saying that hard to see how Liverpool versus Man United game will go ahead tomorrow, given the worsening weather forecast. Yet Liverpool are still winners this weekend after the Arsenal. Okay, well, it's got to snow before the weather gets worse, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think with Zirkzee, as I've said many times before, and I've never had any different information from this, the stories around Italy are just relentless. And there is no reason for Manchester United to be putting those stories out for a new player when he'd only been here a month. This literally started in September and it's got more continuous all the way through to now. Things are going really bad. We saw it on Monday when he got subbed off against Newcastle. I think he was unfortunate. I think it could have been any player that got subbed off and he was cheered, etc. But fundamentally, it's very similar to Marcus Rashford in the sense that does he fit into Manchester United's system? And you know what? You watch Brighton and you watch Wolves and you look at people like Pedro and Cunha who can play behind a striker or as a striker, and they're very mobile. I think Zirkzee, the thing I would question about Zirkzee is that he's just not mobile. For the Premier League, you've got to be mobile. And I just don't think he's mobile enough for the system that the aggressive, intense system that Amrin wants to play. So I think this is the biggest issue. And obviously, I think Man United are sort of in a balancing act here because, yes, this is an Ineos signing, and it is an Ineos signing, and Ineos are in charge. So they've already sacked Ashworth, they've sacked Ten Hag. Do they want to sell one of their own signings? And I think that this is where you'll really learn. And I think this is one of the key things here. This is where you'll really learn just about how much Ineos are prepared to accept mistakes, because I think any decent business accepts mistakes and deals with them. If you have a pub and you are, doing Sunday dinners tomorrow lunchtime and you've ordered too much salmon and you know everyone's going to want chicken and beef, you better get some chicken and beef and not try and push the salmon. And I think with Manchester United, yes, they've been ruthless with Ten Hag. Yes, they've been ruthless with Dan Ashworth. But are they going to be ruthless with Zirkzee, or are they going to go, oh, we don't want to accept our mistake with Zirkzee, we want to keep pushing it? And the thing is, if you don't take the interest while it's there, and there is definitely interest from Italy for Zirkzee, whether it's AC Milan, whether it's Napoli, whether it's Juventus, that interest is there now. And if you take that interest when it's there, you might get a lot of your money back. But if you don't take that interest when it's there and he continues to get worse, then that value is going to drop off. So I think that there is an element of maybe stubbornness with Ineos here, that they're like, we want this to work. But there are opportunities potentially to do something. And that's why I want to just run a very quick poll here, actually. Would you move Zirkzee on in January? Yes or no? Now, the Osimhen story we will talk about because I think that's very, very interesting. But I think with Zirkzee, it's very similar, like I was talking about with Garnacho this morning. I just wonder where he fits into this team. He's certainly not a number 9, and I don't know whether he's got the mobility to play as a 2 behind. Pete Phillips says, magic button, if you press it, we get relegated, but the Glazers sell up, or don't press it and we win the Europa and the Glazers stay for 15 years. What are you doing? I'll take relegation. Well, no. Depends who's replacing the Glazers, actually. Hard to see Osimhen at Man United, considering he's having a great season at Galatasaray, says Omar. Yeah, well, let's bring the Osimhen story in. Again, very similar to Zirkzee, just more stories that you maybe look at and go, I don't know whether I believe this. But there are more stories around this morning and this afternoon around Osimhen. He'd love to come to Manchester United. He'd love to wear the red of Manchester United in the Premier League, and Man United are looking at this deal. I got to say, I don't want to pour water on the story because, as I've said, I'm not going to run a poll on this. Why wouldn't you take Osimhen? I mean, at the moment, I'd take Jonathan David. We need another striker. Absolutely. I like Rasmus. I think there's a lot of potential there, but we do need another striker. But when it comes to Osimhen, you are dealing with one of the most high-profile available strikers in the world, and you're not going to get him on loan, and you're not going to get him cheap. So how do we do this deal? On what base? The question I have, if the Osimhen rumours are true, on what basis are we doing this deal? Because if it's like, this is all the money we've got, and we're going to buy Osimhen, then no, don't do it. But if it's based upon maybe something to do with Zirkzee or something to do with Rashford, then maybe we do it. Because a striker is something that we need, but it's not necessarily a priority for me on that one. And my big fear is you buy Osimhen, you give yourself a good striker, and then you have no service. And then in 2 months' time, when Osimhen scored 3 goals in 10 games and people are saying we bought a load of shit, and I'm screaming at you, there's no service, we're back where we are and have been for quite a while. So I want a left back, I want a midfielder, I want a number 10, and I want a striker. But honestly, I'd want those other 3 positions before. If we get Osimhen, he can't play for us in the Europa, says Jack R. I mean, I don't know whether that's massively important for Manchester United. I mean, if you're going to get Osimhen in the summer, you may as well get him now. Mark, if you could only choose one player to leave the club in January, who would it be? And if you had to say which one player is actually most likely to go, who would that be? Says J.E. Thanks for your super chat, Mel, mate. Rashford, because he's pure profits, and player most likely to go. Ask me that on the show tomorrow, because I'm working on something that, and I do think Rashford will go, but I don't think I'd say he's the most likely to go, if I'm being completely honest. So Osimhen in, Zirkzee out. Would I do it? Yes, I probably would. I think it's something that makes a lot of sense. But on the other hand, I think you're really looking at realistically, how would you do those deals? Do Manchester United want to accept that Zirkzee's a mistake and move him on? Or do they want to bring in someone like Osimhen, who would be, it would be exceptional. I really, really do. Hard to see Osimhen. Can United get Osimhen now and Gyökeres in the summer? I don't care who plays. Football schedule is so demanding going forward. Mate, what sort of money are you going to be looking at there? That would be absolutely mad. Osimhen and Gyökeres. What is he talking about? What is he talking about, Derek? Yes, Derek's here. This is a bit of a bet to do this, to be honest with you. But we will ask Derek a few things, of course. He might be quite Derek the Devil. He's making an appearance tonight. Sidekick Derek. What do you think about Manchester United selling Zirkzee? Take the money and run. Yeah, that's about right for you, Derek. But no, look, I think with regards to being serious, Zirkzee is a interesting one. 79% of you would get rid of Zirkzee in January. I mean, that is pretty shocking. I don't know about that. I think that's a bit over the top. But yeah, 79%. God. I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, I do think there's been a bit of an overreaction this season, this last week, in relation to Zirkzee and how he's been treated. I don't for 1 minute think that he's been targeted. I just think that he's a little bit unfortunate in the sense that I don't think he suits the Premier League at the moment. There might be more there's certainly going to be more time, but I don't think he suits the Premier League, in my opinion. But it's still ridiculously early days, and he's certainly not fundamentally the reason that Manchester United are struggling. There are far bigger reasons than that, and I don't think it's Zirkzee. I don't know what that was all about. I was just reading something there. Zirkzee is a gamble. If we keep him, he's sluggish for the Premier League, says Tony Berry. I've always said that I don't want to judge Zirkzee this season, but I've got to be honest. I don't even want to say what I'm going to say here, but I'm going to say it. The biggest problem that Zirkzee has, and I think Paul Pogba sometimes had this problem as well, is that the way he plays is unfairly assessed. And what I mean by that is that he plays with his socks down. His running style is quite slow. He looks quite relaxed when he's playing football, is what I'm trying to say. And that's an unfair way to assess a player, because Jack Grealish plays with his socks down. You know, just because you play with your socks down doesn't mean you're a lazy player. And I think some people have not warmed to Zirkzee because he's slow, he's in and out of the game. He has a bit of an arrogance to him. I've read all sorts of stuff in the chat. I've seen people in the live chat saying, I can't stand his goal celebration. He just looks really up himself and he's really, lethargic. And I'm like, it's really unfair to judge a player like that, because if he was scoring 4 or 5 goals a game, then people wouldn't give a shit. But he's come into a difficult situation. Ultimately, I just think the best way of saying things is to say it comes down to a technical thing. Yeah. Simon says he hasn't got he's got no. That looked really bad when he went down there. Don't worry, mate. You don't worry. Don't worry. You're not going down there. Go off down there. Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye. But Seb's going to be over the moon that I did that. But I said I can only do it on a Saturday show. I'd never get away with it on anything else. But I think that look, if only an idiot, in my opinion, wouldn't swap Zirkzee for Osimhen. But we're not swapping Zirkzee for Osimhen. What I'm saying is you remove Zirkzee and you bring Osimhen in. That's like saying you can have beans on toast or steak and chips. Like you're gonna do that. Zirkzee out, Osimhen in. Of course you're gonna do it. How you do it is another thing. Do you do it is another thing. Do I believe those things could happen? I don't think Zirkzee probably will go in January. It surprises me that 77% of you would do that. But I sort of understand why. Hutz says he looks like a rabbit in the headlights. I've said that a few times. His passing in the Newcastle game was dreadful. I've watched a lot of football today, and if you put Zirkzee in that Brighton team, he's getting subbed off at half-time. If you put him in the Spurs team, he's getting subbed off at half-time. You put him in the Newcastle team, he's getting subbed off at half-time. Well, he's not starting. You put him in an Arsenal side, he's not starting. And I think this is the way I've started to think, actually. And it might be quite a useful exercise for you. Because I've got That's Football, and I watch a lot of football, and I'm sure you do as well. I've started to look at football in a different way that I never thought I would do. And I watch a game, and I go, how many Man United players would get in that Brighton team? How many Man United players get in that Arsenal team? How many get in that Spurs team? And I'm looking at people like Zirkzee and a lot of others, and I'm going, yeah, he probably isn't starting for Everton at the moment. And this is a player that Ineos have brought in with a load of hype. And that's not his fault. And that doesn't mean he won't be a success. But bottom line is, 6 months in, Ineos look like they've brought a player in that doesn't suit our system and wouldn't start for Everton. And that's on Ineos. That's on Dan Ashworth. That's on Barada. That's on Ten Hag. That's on whoever was involved in that decision. Because I think where we're all in agreement is, and I think we are all in agreement with this, is that he doesn't look good enough to play for us. Now, that doesn't mean he won't become good enough. And that doesn't mean he will always not be good enough. But he doesn't look good enough. Whereas Agate, Mazraoui, De Ligt have shown the potential to be good enough, and I believe they can be, and Yoro, it's early doors, and is a different type of signing. I think the Zirkzee signing, to me, just looks desperate and doesn't look like the right sort of signing for us. I've got to answer the question because I'm a coward if I don't. What would you do? You're saying 77% are wrong to say he should be got rid of in January. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying the volume of people is surprising. Would you move Zirkzee on in January? 77% yes, 23% no. That's a landslide. That's unbelievable. If anyone at United sees that, they're like, oh my God, that's really bad. Buys himself a few seconds. Look, if Juventus come in and there's a package worth 34 million, I'm doing it. If it's 20 million with add-ons to get to 34, I'm doing it. And I think that's massively achievable. All we need to do is get our money back. We can't project he's going to be a 60, 70 million pound player. All we can do is get our money back. So I'd be like, look, you give us 20 million now, there's 14 million in add-ons, let's do a deal. And I'd do it. I'm not loaning him, and I'm not taking anything less than that after 6 months. But if there's a deal to get your money back, then I would do it, because I honestly feel that I'd love him to succeed, and I'm completely on board with the fact that it's very early days and things could get better. But if you're offering me an opportunity to get my money back, I'm going to be ruthless and take it. And that's the only thing I would agree with. If I can get my money back, I'm doing the deal. If not, I might have to work through this decision that we made collectively. With the Portuguese connection, could you see us going after Rodrigo or Leao if we can sell some players, says Kyle? Oh, I don't know who we'd go for, mate. We could go for anybody, but you're right. We've got to move players on first. Carl Middlecoop has gifted 10 memberships. He's an absolute legend. And Joe Humphrey says, if we sell Rashford, who is your go-to replacement, or which signing would you love in January if it was to happen? Joe, I don't really think we need a direct replacement for Marcus Rashford. I've said this before. I think that we need a left back, we need a midfielder, and we need a number 10. You don't need a replacement for a player that doesn't get in the matchday squad and doesn't actually fit into the system. So I wouldn't be replacing Rashford with a left winger, because we don't actually use a left winger like that. So I'd be using the money for something we need. If we, wouldn't his wages cost more than Zirkzee, says Simon. Mads, welcome to the Members Club. Loan deal for Zirkzee sounds more realistic, says Abdi. About Osimhen would be good considering good season for former high-profile strikers such as Zlatan, Cavani, Van Persie. We can't even give a player 6 months in this league. That's insane, says Yellow Bathing Suit. Can we do a vote for Osimhen or Gyökeres, says Tom Grant. I think we did one. Maybe I dreamt it. I will do one. I'll do it now. Where is it? Either or, because it's quicker. Gyökeres. We did this last night, didn't we? Maybe I dreamt it. Anyway, we've done it again. CRSA, thank you very much for your super chat there. Wouldn't his wages be more than Zirkzee, says Simon. Okay, look, in relation to Osimhen then, obviously a lot of people want to get rid of Zirkzee. I think if you get your money back, I'd consider it. Beyond that, do I think it will happen? I'm not convinced it is going to happen, if I'm being completely honest. I don't think it will happen. I think they'll give him the season. But with regards to Osimhen, I don't think that's going to happen. Honestly, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that Man United have got the money to do that. I think the only way Osimhen happens is if something can be done with Rashford the other way. And obviously Rashford, McTominay, Napoli, Conte, maybe. I mean, I heard something about Rashford and AC Milan on loan today, so maybe that could happen. You would presume that Scott McTominay and Rashford get on really well because they were part of the same youth team for years. So maybe there's something there. Conte seems to love English things. So maybe that's the only way. But I don't see why Osimhen's being mentioned in relation to Man United unless it's got something to do with Rashford. And that for me is where that ends. But of course I would take Osimhen, but I'd take Jonathan David at the moment. I'd take a bloody striker. We need one. Rashford and Zirkzee out, Osimhen and Cunha in. Then if we sell more, get a left wing back, then go for Edison and Gyökeres in the summer, says Anders. And Fred says Zirkzee runs 25 kilometers an hour. That's okay. It's not slow. Yeah, but you know I think people always get a little bit too literal in this. Being able to sprint doesn't mean that you're fast. And people will go, what are you talking about? It literally does. No, we're talking about football speed. We're talking about sprinting across the ground. I mean, I don't know how fast Brighton players are and how fast Arsenal players are, but if you watch that game today, the intensity in which they press is incredible. I don't see that from Zirkzee, and I don't see it from Rashford. Rashford's very fast, but he's so slow in the press. So it's not about how quick they can sprint. It's how energetic they are. Zirkzee does not look energetic enough to me from what I've seen so far. Don Julie says the team has been leaked. We'll pop it in here then. I haven't seen it. Need players with hunger to perform, and Osimhen must have that, wanting to perform in the big stage and prove Napoli made a mistake. He can push the slackers up, says Ice King. And Papa Kiss says, with Zirkzee, like many of the other issues, seems more of an attitude issue. There is a clip on YouTube of Vincent Kompany yelling at him after a match for Anderlecht about his piss attitude. Cash out now. I mean, look, I don't know anything about that. If Zirkzee's got a bad attitude, then we are in trouble, because that is an Ineos signing. And if they have brought a player in with a bad attitude, this is meant to be a new dawn at Manchester United. Samir says, if we get Osimhen, then we should really get someone on the left so he can get the service from both sides. Otherwise, it would be the same as Rasmus. That's a good point, Samir. Red Devil Germany says, hello from Frankfurt in Germany. Mark, I'm a member for only a few days, but I'm watching the channel since the old Ollie days. Love the community and your work. Hope we sign Osimhen and a left wing back in January. Well, very welcome, mate. Thank you very much. Thank you for your super chat. Carlos says, United need to sign top players, so how do you convince a top player to write off 5 months of their career that might affect things like national team call-ups? Confidence called a flop by media, etc., says Carlos. Well, what's the point there, Carlos? Sorry, United need to sign top players, so how do you convince a top player to write off 5 months of their career? Why would they be writing off 5 months of their career if they came in and did well? I mean, at some point, we're going to turn up, aren't we? We're going to get better. Club signing looks like another Donny van der Beek scenario with Zirkzee, says not now, Dave. And Francois says, don't you agree that our movement off the ball is a real problem? I've been noticing every game since Ten Hag. Under Sir Alex, we were brilliant. I think well, that just comes down to football IQ. I think there needs to be a conversation about Rasmus, as John. Funnily enough, we're going to do a video on Rasmus like we have done on other players in the past. Appreciate that. Also, wait. Okay. I thought I had the leaked team then, but I'm just having a look around to see if we actually have got it. Where is it? There's some story about Gyökeres. Oh, that was what I was going to say. Have you seen this from Ben Jacobs? This is massive news. Cunha, very close to agreeing a new long-term contract with Wolves. It's seen as just a matter of time before he signs. They never planned to sanction a January exit anyway. I mean, look, I can say what I like. And I've got to say here, these sort of things massively confuse me. Massively confuse me. Does Cunha want to play for Wolves for the rest of his career? Does he bollocks? So Wolves offer him a pay rise with a clause in it where they get more money than they get now. So Cunha signs the contract for a short-term pay rise, but basically makes anybody who wants to sign him job harder. I mean, I don't really understand why the player does it. I really don't, because he's probably got 18 months left on his contract. I think I'm right in saying that. Let me just double check. But this has been going on in football for years, and I really just don't understand it. The financial gain just isn't worth it. So his contract's up in 2027, so he's got 2 years left on his contract. They could probably get £50 million for him. He signs a new contract and they're probably going to ask for 60, 65 million pounds. So it costs us or Arsenal another 15 million quid. And what does he get out of it? 6 or 7 months on another 20 grand a week? You'll be on another 50, 100 grand a week when you move. So I don't know. Look, people talk about loyalty. It's got nothing to do with loyalty. There's no fucking loyalty in that. There'll be a release clause in it. You know it. I know it. It'll just be for a higher fee. But it's disappointing. But this is the problem, isn't it? This is why I don't necessarily think your Cunhas and your Gyökereses and your Osimhens are necessarily the answer. I think we've got to get better at buying the next set of players. I mean, I'm watching Brighton today. I can't believe they're mid-table. Their bench is brilliant. Their first 11 is brilliant. And it's all from good recruitment. So, you know. Yes, Global says Sky Italy is talking about Zirkzee right now. I mean, look, going back to Zirkzee, I do think that situation is sort of set up to escalate very quickly or quieten down very quickly. And what I mean by that is Zirkzee could leave Man United, it could move really quick. Or he could stay at Man United and the door could be closed really quick. I think it says almost done on the thumbnail. And his career at Man United is almost done. I'll argue that with anybody. It's almost done. It's continuous links to Italy that, in my opinion, are coming from his team. And he's not doing well on the pitch in the Premier League. So it doesn't mean it's over, but I think his career at Man United is almost done. So which way are we going here? Because if his agent and team are constantly pushing him around Italy, well, now's the time to get him to Italy. But you've got to deliver the money. So let's see. Steve Kitching, welcome to the Members Club. Hi, Mark. We need service to any striker to do anything. And Barry says there's no point bringing another striker in when we can't supply the ones we already have. I think a lot of people are saying that, Barry, and I think you're spot on. The fact Zirkzee couldn't get game time over Depay and Weghorst worried me, says Alex. I mean, this is another good point. I never really thought about it, Alex, but yeah, he couldn't break into the Dutch team ahead of Depay and Weghorst. It's, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, look, I was one of those who said he looks really exciting and he'd done very well at Bologna. But this is another one of those things where you're looking at what I said the other day. Omar Barada is not a recruiter of players at Man City. Jason Wilcox was a youth team person at Man City and then he was at Southampton. Dan Ashworth's not here anymore. Who is the expert recruiting our players? Because I actually don't see one at the moment. And I think, again, this is only going to feed the fire of those critics of Ineos who are saying they weren't very good at Nice. They're not doing very good things at Man United. So the Zirkzee deal, what are they going to do? Are they going to try and push Zirkzee onto Ten Hag? But at the time, a lot of people were saying it wasn't Ten Hag, it was Ineos. So, well, Resto's saying it there. It's a Ten Hag signing. I don't think it was. I don't think it was a Ten Hag signing because that's not the structure we had in the summer. Ten Hag didn't have the power last summer to go and get players. That's why we got Agate. He didn't want Agate. He even said about De Ligt, I like the player, but it's not been chosen by me. So I think, you know, we can blame deflect because it suits our agenda. But the bottom line is, I think it falls onto Ineos, really. I think the reason we bought him was to support the wingers under Ten Hag and get them more goals, says Ollie. Lloyd Davis, welcome to the Members Club. And the problem with Zirkzee is he's not challenging Rasmus, says Alex Z. And I don't think he can challenge Rasmus because I don't think he suits the way that we want to play football. I really don't. Anyway, let's move it on. This is what Graeme Souness has been saying. Now, I wouldn't normally talk about Graeme Souness, but I thought, you know, he had such a long agenda against Paul Pogba. And he has been critical of Marcus Rashford. He basically said that the way Rashford has just accepted Man United don't want him and, you know, he's weak, etc. But this is what he's had to say about Garnacho. I spoke last week about the example Bruno Fernandes sets, and I hear Garnacho being unhappy with the manager. Can someone remind me of just who he is? The last time I looked, he was only 20-year-old boy, one who is only one step up on a 10-rung ladder. Who are you? He acts like a wrong-un on the football pitch, and unless he changes, he's got no chance of fulfilling what obvious potential he has. And I thought, you know what? I've always said that Graeme Souness, apart from his Manchester United obsession, is not a bad pundit. His Pogba obsession was a little bit weird, but I don't think he's wrong in anything he's saying there. And look, I think controversial opinion in the mainstream is like a needle in a haystack. And very few of them ever speak any sense. But I read that and I thought, you know what, to be fair, and I'm a fan of Garnacho, I'd love to be ranting about Graeme Souness saying, here he goes again. But actually, I think he's talking a lot of sense here. Why are we talking about a 20-year-old falling out with the manager? Why are we talking about a 20-year-old who is only just starting his career, having to be dropped from a Manchester derby and now stuck on the bench? And why are we talking about a 20-year-old jeopardising his obvious potential this early in his career? I mean, really, he should just be head down, focused, and playing football. And I think that look, Paul Pogba, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Di Maria. There are so many examples. Alexis Sanchez. There are so many anecdotes and evidential stories of talent that has messed it up at Manchester United. I really hope Garnacho can take this on board because, yes, it's not very nice at the moment to get criticism, but the criticism tends to be always tinged with, there is an obvious talent here. And I just wonder, again, when we talk about the mentality of these players, do they see through the criticism or do they just see criticism? Because I remember years ago, my chemistry teacher basically took me aside and said, all you do is piss about with Mark. And he is no good at chemistry and he's never going to be good at chemistry. But all you do is sit there laughing, joking, reading your football magazines, and you're actually intelligent and you're good at this if you apply yourself, but you're acting like a prat every lesson. And, you know, when I look back at that criticism, they were basically saying I was talented and I needed to get my head down and work. And you know what I did? I failed chemistry and I continued to mess around in class. So there ended the lesson. And I think that's what's being said to a lot of United players. They're being criticised, but they're taking that criticism and going, what do they know? What do they know? When actually people are saying, you are talented. You are talented, but you need to work hard. And you know what? I don't think there's anything wrong with that type of criticism. I think if Graeme Souness was saying Garnacho's a load of shit, why is he piping up? Then that's very different to why isn't he applying himself? He's clearly talented. And I think that is something that, you know, I very rarely hear anybody criticise United players and say, bad attitude, bad talent, get rid of them. I think every player I would move on in this January transfer window. Casemiro, one of the world's best holding midfielders, who over the last 12 months, for whatever reason, has had a personality transplant in relation to his footballing ability. If we had the Casemiro we bought, we wouldn't be moaning about it. Garnacho, amazing talent in my opinion, not achieving it. Why? Marcus Rashford, at times, has shown amazing quality. Why aren't you doing it? So I think there is always that underlying acceptance that there is talent there, but they can't deal with the criticism. Want service to strikers, exercise the buyback clause for Pellistri, says Paul. Do you think we should sell Bruno in the summer, says Louis? You know what? I don't want to have that conversation, Louis, but I will have that conversation. I think the summer should be so far off that we can talk about maybe Bruno goes in the summer. But that can only happen or be discussed as a separate conversation if we deal with January. Because if we don't deal with January, all the summer's going to be is Casemiro, Rashford, Zirkzee, Anthony. Like, if we get rid of a few players in January, then in the summer you can move on to the next. But if we don't move Rashford and Casemiro and Anthony and Zirkzee and whoever else on in January, they'll still be here in the summer. And you'll be kicking the problem down the road, which was a prime Glazeronomics tactic. You know, the Glazers were brilliant at this. You just keep moving the story along the road and you never, ever solve anything else. So I think that, yeah, it's looking good. I've just had a forecast through. There's growing confidence that the Liverpool game will go ahead, apparently. I don't know. Derek's better than Goldbridge, says Miz. How would you feel about Pulisic at United as Fortnite Extreme? I'd be very worried because I think Pulisic would be... I mean, I think you make a good point there. I think Pulisic behind a striker has the mobility. I think Pulisic, not injured, would be brilliant in that system. But his injury record would terrify me. What we need is creativity and mobility in those two positions behind the striker, and we'd be a lot better. Any news on Mendes, says M1. K3. Only something very vague about he wants to come to United and move his Portuguese girlfriend to Manchester. I mean, look, I want him to come to Man United as well, but I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say what I'm about to say, but shall I get Derek to tell me? Yeah. Derek, you tell me and I'll tell him. You're right, yeah. He's right. Remember in the summer transfer windows how we always sort of count down and we'd go, something's got to happen this week. Well, let me put it like this. You might be remembering your New Year's Eve party and you might be thinking what a great time you had. And I think that it's the 4th of January today. And that means next week, on Monday, it will be the 13th of January. We'll nearly be halfway through in a week. So we talk about doing business in January, and January is going to move really quickly indeed. So if we want to get stuff done in January, we need to start moving really fast. So yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. But there's not that many weeks. To do stuff. Abraham says, it's simple, Mark. It's the fact that United front line, all is collective, don't have the legs to press. Like even a Brighton, they're too slow. Yeah. Are we signing any youngsters this January, says Jeremiah? I don't know. Miss my super chat, says Ali. It's simple. It's Gary's a legend, but he's a prat, says Carl. Goldio says, why is Gyökeres winning the poll against Osimhen? 61%. Osimhen, by far the better choice, been playing at the higher level for longer and is more suited. It's probably recency bias and the fact that he played for Amorim, maybe. Replace Casemiro with Alvarez, says Zeus. How would you feel about Pulisic? We've done. I wish we had Angel Gomez and Anthony Elanga in the squad. Call me a hipster, says Thomas Lilly. Graeme Souness says, I hate Paul Pogba. If we sell Casemiro, I hope we get Alvarez, says Zeus. Want service to strikers, exercise the buyback clause. Do you think we should sell Bruno? Ollie says, I think the reason we bought him was to support the wingers. We've done that one. Welcome, Lloyd. Alex, problem with Zirkzee is he's not challenging rumours. Hi, Mark. Need service to any striker. No point bringing in another striker. Okay. Ali says, Zirkzee and Rashford out in January. Bring Osimhen in. Sell Rasmus in the summer and bring Gyökeres. We need a stab. That's never going to happen. Ali, you said that I've missed your super chat. I've gone back to it, and you know now you put a big focus on you, a big Pratt focus. That is never going to happen. Never going to happen in a million years. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, it's silly, really silly. I don't mind having a talk about Man United fighting back, but I can't be arsed with time wasters. Oh, let's bring Osimhen in January and Gyökeres in the summer. Yeah, let's have two of the best strikers in Europe, and we can't play both of them at the same time. And also, let's bankrupt ourselves to do it, and let's not have any service into them. We can't do that deal. There has to be an element of realism, otherwise we will always fail. How do you get a £70 million player like Osimhen into the club, and then in the summer go and get another £70 million player? You just can't do it. And that's not going to solve our problems. Oh, let's get 2 of the best strikers in the world and we'll win the league. And then when they're running around up front with no service, you've got no money to spend on anything else. It's not real. Like Imran says, you think you're playing real life Football Manager. Absolutely not. The striker for me, in my opinion, and to oppose that, is that yes, we do need to bring a striker in, but we need to bring a striker in because we've only got one and they're only 21. So we need an experienced striker, definitely, to lighten the load and also, hopefully, to bring a bit more experience. But we need a left-footed player more. We need another midfielder more, and we need a creative player more. Buying 2 strikers will not solve any of our problems at Manchester United, in my opinion. Ali still loves me. No worries, mate. It's all about opinion. Lloyd Davies has gifted a membership. Thank you for 5 memberships from Lloyd. You're an absolute fantastic guy. Sir Jim Radcliffe says, can Derek play left back? Are we actually going to buy a left back, says Stephen King. I mean, I think this... Glenn Caesar's a bet the devil sounds like Zippy. I think that... Again, this is something that we were just talking about, wasn't it? That the January transfer window will move very, very quickly. And although it's only the 4th of January, Man United ain't going to do anything this weekend. They're too interested in the Liverpool game. So it's the 6th of January on Monday. And then you've got 13th, 20th, 27th. You've got 3 weeks, really. 3.5 weeks. What left back are we going for? Or are we actually going to come out of the window with no left back again? Malacia is fit but not good enough. Luke Shaw's doing edits with Molly May on TikTok and is not fit and won't be fit even when he comes back. Delo is an absolute waste of space on the left-hand side. So why would you not? I mean, I'm looking at Spurs today. Udogie is out for a few months now, but they can use Reguilon. Like, they have got a left-footed player. He might not be as good as they want, but we got rid of Fernandez, Alanga and Palestri, and now we're crying out for a left wing-back, says Ian. And Isaac, thank you very much. Frank Robinson, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Do you think the game will go ahead tomorrow, Mark? I knew this was going to happen. Let me just do a snow watch here. Oh, yeah. But, well, you know what? I was just going to say that it's been forecast to snow where I live for quite a while, and it hasn't been snowing. Let me just have a look what it says for me. So, Met weather where I live is meant to be heavy snow from 9 o'clock until about 2 o'clock in the morning. It's snowing now, and there's already about 2 centimetres, and that's in half an hour. So in Liverpool, they're saying, so they're accurate with that. In Liverpool, they're saying it's going to start snowing in about an hour, and it's not going to stop until 6 o'clock in the morning. And then it's going to turn to heavy rain. Now, what does heavy rain do to snow? Probably melts it. So there is a chance it will happen, but I think that the snow is coming down. So I don't know. Look, the bottom line is, it's like apologising for the Glazers. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm now going to apologise on behalf of the UK's approach to health and safety. In 2014, an Arsenal game got postponed because of snow. The pitch was absolutely fine, understory heating. The game could have been played, but they called it off because people might slip outside. They'll do the same here. Now, 30 years ago, they wouldn't give a shit. They wouldn't care. But in the UK now, if it's snowing and somebody might slip, they'll call it off. So I'd still say 50-50. Still say 50-50. Gaming Gaz says, if it hasn't snowed yet in Ireland and all we had today was cold air, but snow hasn't come yet, and I think they might have got it wrong. It's snowing here, Gaming Gaz. Mark, what about Ederson from Atalanta? I don't think you're going to get Ederson out of Atalanta, mate. I mean, last time I checked, they were in a title race with Napoli. I mean, Scott McTominay could be winning a bloody title in his first year at Napoli. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible, isn't it? But Atalanta have got a game in hand, and they drew with Lazio today, and Napoli are playing at the moment. They won today 3-0. No, I've got that completely wrong. Atalanta. I don't know why Atalanta aren't playing this weekend. Maybe they've split because of the international break. Yeah, but Napoli are top by 3. Atalanta in second place. So there's a title race going on there. I don't think he'll be coming. The game being called off would be a blessing, says J4. A few more indoor training sessions won't do us any harm. Players will do okay in the snow as they are snowflakes, says Ali. And the reality is, what's Derek's prediction for tomorrow, says John. He's getting more airtime than me. He'll be charging me more than Ricky at this rate. Okay, coming back. Look at it, he's loving it. Massive show off. Look at him. He's a right show off. Right, Derek, what's your score prediction for the Liverpool game? Very in depth. He says that he'll get snowed off. He'll go down the pub, have 10 pints, hit a club, and go and pull a load of... well, I can't say what he's going to pull. But, yeah, he thinks he's going to be out on the piss tomorrow, not watching a game of football. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, well, look, I don't know. I think I don't know whether it will go ahead. I hope it goes ahead, and we're not going to win this game anyway. That's most people's prediction. So, Goldio doesn't like the hand puppet. It's scaring him. I don't really see the point in it not going ahead. Well, I understand why it wouldn't go ahead, but I don't really see the point in the people saying, you don't want it to go ahead. Liverpool are going to win the league regardless, and Liverpool will be favourites to beat us regardless. And even if we beat them later in the season, we're not going to do anything in the league. So actually, the way I would say it is, we're better off getting this game out of the way, because the replay or the rescheduled game could fall at a time where we need to play a strong team, but it could fall in between an important Europa League game. So actually, I think it's in our interest to get the game played, because I don't see what purpose it serves for us to play it later. We need a selfless midfielder with a high IQ, says Isaac. And Derek sounds like he's mates with Rashford, says Alex. Lovely stuff. Okay, well, look, it is snowing. If you follow me on... Hey, mate, where's my bloody phone? You should be following me on Instagram anyway. Have you seen Goldbridge from 20 years ago? Check it out, at Goldbridge Mark right now. Go on to Instagram, search at Goldbridge Mark, and look at the beautiful specimen of a man 20 years ago. I mean, I'm still got it now, but unbelievable. You know, I mean, I tell you what, talking about sliding in the snow, I'll tell you where all the sliding's going on my DMs. People flying in. Both sexes as well. I mean, I don't know what that's all about, but my Instagram DMs have never been slid so much. I'm thinking about getting Steven Gerrard to sponsor it. But look, that's 20 years ago. That's not me now. But check it out at Goldbridge Mark. I'll probably pop out and do a little story in the snow, actually, just so you can see what it's all about, because it is definitely snowing in Solihull. But I'll go and do an Instagram story now on at Goldbridge Mark. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We're back on the show at 10 o'clock tomorrow, and we'll have a weather report, I suppose, at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Let's see if the game's going ahead or not. Hopefully it is, but we're in the hands of the weather. We're not really in the hands of the weather, are we? The pitch is going to be fine. We're going to be in the hands of health and safety. Bigino says we're getting 40 to 60 centimetres in Toronto. Does it ever worry you that Gyökeres wasn't top in England? Personally, I'd pick some Osimhen top in Italy. We need a selfless midfielder with a high HQ, says Isaac. Thank you very much. Well, I loved the show tonight. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm so happy I don't do the Talk Sports show anymore, because it allows me to do a Saturday night show with you lot, and it's always a good show. Take care, everybody, We'll see you in the morning, and fingers crossed the game's going to go ahead. But check out my Instagram story. I'll give you a snow report live now on Instagram. See you in a minute.